Hello, podcast listener. Have you ever spent time in a bus with children? Well, I sure have, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World.
And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I don't know if I'm afraid for the future or excited for the future, but after you spend almost 24 straight hours with a bunch of teenagers, you start to get, understand where our deficiencies are in public education. I can tell you that much.
It's getting scary out there. It really is.
I'm sure, I was trying to have this conversation yesterday. I chaperoned a drama trip from Fargo to Minneapolis where we saw 2 different plays and then went to the Mall of America. We left at 7:30 in the morning, got back about 2:30. So it was almost 24 hours, just shy of 24 hours. And these are some of the things that I worry about for the future. At one point, one of the kids came forward because I asked my sister to chaperone with me, and I asked my friend Phil, who also works at the school. So the 3 of us are sitting at the front of the bus, which is where teachers are supposed to sit. Because if you're in the back, you think you can get away with it, right? You can be like, ooh, we can have all the candy we can eat. We can play presidents and assholes for a card game, and no one will know the difference. But what they don't understand is there's a giant mirror, and I'm constantly checking on them, right? You're not going to get away with anything. So these are the things that drive me nuts. At one point, a student comes up to the front and says, "Is there a bag for trash?" And my sister grabs a grocery bag. She brought all these extra bags knowing that kids make a lot of trash. And she grabbed this grocery bag, and there's a hole in the grocery bag that is less than the circumference of a pencil. And the kid looked at it and goes, "There's a hole in that bag." And then just stared at her. And my sister looked at what she was holding, and she was holding like a Sun Chips bag that would never, even in a situation where it's outer space and something's having supreme suction, you'd have to rip the bag open even more for that to fit through.
Yeah.
And I saw my sister.
Not all holes are the same.
Right. And I saw my sister have this, she just matched that stare right back, holding the bag, waiting for the kid to take it. And it was a matter of what's going to happen. And so the kid reluctantly takes the bag that has a hole in it. And I could tell, goes back to their seat and doesn't know what to do. Because they told my sister that the bag had a hole in it. And now they've got this bag. So, and then you know what happened when we left? That bag was sitting unused next to that student's seat. Then there's the kid who was we stopped to use the restroom, and he came up to me and goes, "I just used the bathroom." Meaning the one in the bus. And I said, "Okay." And he goes, I didn't know we were stopping at this bathroom. And I go, "Oh, I didn't either. The bus driver needs to go to the bathroom. This is an unscheduled stop because we stopped 30 minutes ago, and I told everyone to use the bathroom at the Nelson Brothers convenience store in Clearwater, Minnesota." And he goes, "Yeah, but I didn't know, so I used the bathroom back there."
It's okay.
Yeah, and I'm like,
great. How was it?
Did you break the toilet? Was there a problem? Is there an issue that I need to be made aware of? And he just wanted to let me know that he had already used the bathroom. So if we're stopping on his account, if I magically was able to understand, like, I think this kid might need to go to the bathroom. Now, that being said, it took everything in my powers of persuasion to get these kids excited to go see these 2 shows. One of them was Sleuth at the Guthrie, which is kind of a whodunit game of wits. And then the other was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is one of the most technically complex plays of all time. And they put up poop, they're like, I don't like Harry Potter, I haven't seen all the movies. And I'm like, right, but like, you don't have to have seen all the movies to appreciate the acting, the stagecraft, stuff like that. And then I've never seen Sleuth before. I don't know what it's about. And I'm like, I've sent you videos. Plus, that's what you have to do. You have to go to things you've never seen before. This is, honest to God, a real worry of mine because so many of these kids feel they need to have all of this background knowledge before they go to something. Gone are the days of where someone goes to a movie without having seen a million trailers. God forbid you read a book without reading, the back jacket or the Wikipedia page on it. Is anyone consuming any type of media without knowing what it's all about before they even start? It's ridiculous.
I understand why you're not allowed to hit the kids. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But you should be allowed to say, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You're stupid. You're stupid, and we're trying to make you smarter today. And it's up to you if anything happens. But shut the fuck up. Like, take the fucking bag, you idiot. Like, we should at least be able to abuse them verbally. I'm pro verbally abusing dumb kids.
This is what amazes me is like, so we get to the Guthrie, and most of them have never been to that building before. And so they're experiencing, like, all of this beauty of the Guthrie, which is amazing because it's an architectural, like, masterclass. Right. And then I'm telling everyone, like, hey, okay, listen, before we go, don't get caught up in the gift shop. And one of the kid goes, they don't open the gift shop after shows. And in my mind, I wanted to be like, after the evening shows, but we are at a matinee. But like the second the show's done,
you should have been able to finish that with dumbass.
But like after the show's done, the kids all rush the stage because they want to like see the like stagecraft and everything that went on. And so I get it, right? Like sometimes you just need to lead a horse to water, and if they drink, they drink. If they don't, they don't. But you did your job. You led the horse there. But boy, oh boy, there are moments. Also, for the brief interlude, I took a bunch of kids to the Mall of America on a Saturday. Boy, did I get called over and over to get them claimed by mall cops. The Mall of America does not want unattended children in any way, shape, or form.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What a change from our time.
Right.
I remember going on school trips and going to the Mall of America and them saying, all right, be back here at whatever time. And you just went.
During my era, they took us to uptown Minneapolis and just dumped us. And they're like, we'll see you in 4 hours. There's great places to eat, and you can wander around uptown Minneapolis for as long as you'd like.
Stay alive. Don't get kidnapped.
Right? And like, I was like, it's amazing. That's on an instance, Alex Davey and I went to a psychic, like a palm reader. And it was in this woman's house. So like her kids answered the door and were like, hi, is, Madam Zarina here? And they're like, yeah, hold on. Mom! There's an age of kids where they're fun, but like, then they don't seem to be as fun for a while until they figure out what their personality is. And like one of the kids came up to me like, hey, I've never gotten car sick before, but I think I'm car sick. And I'm like, do you think you're going to throw up? And he looked at me with these big, dumb eyes and was like, yeah. But, like, I got to be honest. So this is what I was thinking about. I was like, what was my experience like? Because I also, like, I'm not back hassling the kids. I'm letting them have their fun. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I'm like, you know what? What was I like during that era, right? And I was like, I was probably insufferable to adults. And given I'm not saying these kids are insufferable. I actually really I love the fact that they jumped up for the standing ovation, like after the show. They were so interested in the stagecraft. They were like blown away by storytelling and acting, and like, this is what you need. And like, see, this is good. This should inspire you to go forward. I remember seeing a show at the Children's Theater Company that honestly reframed how I thought about theater. And it just is one of those most amazing things that I will never get past. And but like, was I insufferable?
Is Reed Sigmund still there?
Yeah, he is. In fact, he just played Zeke in The Cowardly Lion in their production of Wizard of Oz. He's played the Grinch 8 years in a row, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, it is amazing when art, that kind of art, can come from absolutely anywhere.
Right?
But I think back to how I know I was insufferable. I mean, I remember exactly what it was like when I was a teenager and what I was like. And when I think back on it, I'm like, that was, that kid was messed up in all sorts of ways, and in ways that humans are, naturally as you get older. And it also makes me wonder, I'm 41 right now. Will 82-year-old me be looking back on 40? Is he looking back on 41-year-old me right now and going, what an idiot? Like,
yeah.
what an insufferable, like, horrible person.
So this is something that I'm actually really proud of. This last year for the improv troupe at Fargo South that I coach, I was like, hey, listen, let's transform, like, doing your shows in a 650-seat theater is cavernous, and you are at best 20 feet away from the audience when you start. What if I gave you what it actually is going to feel like to improvise in the future? And so we built these platforms, and then I built a comedy club inside of their classroom. And so we brought in lighting equipment. We used pipe and drape. I have a gigantic, like, huge, like, actual, like, curtain, like, stage curtain that blocks off the whole back. And so they get this neat comedy club vibe. And then they have a live jazz band that plays beforehand called Inner City Sound, and we put them up on this mezzanine. Nice. So, like, they're jamming out up top, and then everyone else is coming in, and it's cool. It's awesome, right? It's really neat. So they've got this comedy club vibe, and this is how I know I'm old. So afterwards, you got to clean it up, right? You got to set it up, and then you got to tear it down. And so we're doing all the tear down, and there's someone up in the mezzanine, and they're banging on a drum, and they're like, dump dump to dump 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 to dump 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 dump. And it's not like they're playing something real. It's like they're just kind of futzing around on the drum. And I'm like, cool your jets, JJ. Cool your jets. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. Don't do it. And so after like the 4th minute, I go, enough with the drums. And a kid like pokes at him like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And I'm like, we're supposed to be tearing down. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so then they start tearing down the drums. And I was like, why do you not like read the room? There's 9 other people around here working, and you are just tapping along on the drums. Like, come on, man. Get with it.
Just made me think of who's bouncing that ball?
It's me, Philadelphia Collins. Which is a reference to Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
Where Jim Lahey is tied to the roof of his trailer.
Yeah, I have to kind of dive back into what's been going on with those guys, because I've heard like their empire is basically like falling apart now.
Yeah.
From the glances at headlines that I saw, it looked like the guy who played Bubbles has like a sexual assault thing going on, and I guess at one point they had like a streaming service they took subscriptions for but never delivered on and never refunded money or something like that. And obviously, the guy who played Jim Lahey, he's gone, he's dead, so they can never bring the magic back of that character. So I've been thinking about them a little bit lately, just because they're an interesting example of something just sort of withering on the vine, right? Like they decided to write it out as long as they could, which I get, and I think there was something to that with their structure, right? Like, yeah, every season they get out of jail. At the end of every season, they're back in jail. Great, basically. That's a lot of fun. But instead they've just sort of like, and now they're done.
It's a show that like outstayed its welcome, right? And at one point, like halfway through, you're like, oh, what happened to all these other characters who were daily characters in this? Like, oh, these people were treated and paid so poorly while everyone else is getting rich that they're like, yeah, I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I drove to Trailer Park Boys. I drove to Canada to see the first Trailer Park Boys movie when it came out. And because it was going to open in Canada, but then it was going to be like 5 months until it opened in the United States. And my wife and I were like, we love Trailer Park Boys. Like I remember it's a guy named Eric who wanted everyone to call him Daddy at Take Two Video. Never did. Didn't feel right. Ooh. And Daddy he's like, you gotta watch this, but don't start on the first season, start on the second season because it gets better. So that was like TV on DVD. That's how I discovered that show. Mm-hmm. And so we get really into it. We decide we're going to go to Canada. We drive to Canada. We're at the Canadian-U.S. border, and the Canadian Border Patrol is like, hey, welcome to Canada, eh? What's the purpose of your visit? And we said, we're here to watch we're going to Winnipeg to watch the Trailer Park Boys movie. And he goes, come right on in. And then when we got back, and then the U.S. Border Patrol was like, what was your purpose to Canada? We're like, we went here to see the Trailer Park Boys movie. You guys pull your car aside. We're searching you head to toe. That's the worst excuse I've ever heard from some drug smugglers. And it turns out there was no drugs being smuggled at all. But it was interesting because we went to a movie theater that was underground, and I had never seen that before.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was part of this mall, and then they just dug this really like deep pit and then put these movie theaters inside. Like, because when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because you don't need any light, and so it's all hallways and stuff like that. But it was so you take these escalators and you were going down and down and down. I'm like, Jill, we are below sea level for sure at this point.
You were safe from a nuclear attack while you were watching.
I know, and if all honesty, if there was going to be a nuke, that's where I'd want to go, as a movie theater.
I remember when I watched Trailer Park Boys for the first time, it was because someone had uploaded everything to YouTube, and YouTube wasn't at that moment in time like really strict on catching stuff like that. And Trailer Park Boys was still, they were famous in Canada, but not that well known in America. So around the same time you're watching the DVDs, I'm watching the rips of them on YouTube. And I actually remember a conversation you and I had where I started to romanticize the idea of living the simple life in a trailer. And I even said to you, I was like, I'm thinking about like maybe the first house I buy, like might just be like a trailer and I'll start there. And you were like, Tucker, that is the dumbest thing you could say right now. And you talked me out of it immediately. You're like, no, mm-hmm. No, that's don't do that. And I'm really glad you said that because I'm glad that's not something I went and did.
I get it. I think a lot of people fell in love with the idea of like that community, but like that's not what they're really like.
Yeah,
maybe in some places, but
and I think the simple life and simple living, there was something to that in there, but obviously they were giving it's a completely cartoonish version of it, and so I had gotten sort of sucked into that vibe of the show, but I wasn't like about to start growing weed or wearing houndstooth jackets or anything like that,
or making a hash driveway.
Right.
I mean, the seasons of that show that hit hard and are really good.
Yep.
Like Conky the puppet is one of the greatest characters that I've ever seen in a television show before, and still makes me laugh. Like, how are you gonna dance yourself out of this one, Julian? Dirtily.
My all-time favorite line is actually a Randy line, and it's at one point he and Mr. Lahey and Barb Lahey are living as a throuple, and they're living in the same trailer as a throuple. And there's been tension brewing between Randy and Barb because of Randy's drug use and Barb, not wanting to tolerate that and kind of wanting to be just her and Jim again. And so at one point they've sort of had it out, and Randy is like, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. And he turns to Barb and he goes, you know what, Barb? Your scalloped potatoes are fucked. He walks out, and then that's the line. And then Lahey comes back with, "They're magnificent, Barb."
I assume that a lot of that show was improvised, right? Like you just have to like believe that they're like, okay, here's the script, but like now let's shoot, a couple from me. Let's get the ones that, feel good like that.
I do want to look up the name of the actor real quick who played Jim Lahey, because he was the standout performer without question. And he like was, my understanding was like an actual trained, like theater actor or whatever.
And his daughter's in the show as well.
Right. John Dunsworth.
Sarah Dunlop? Dunsworth?
John Dunsworth. And he has my second favorite line, which I know we're just quoting Trailer Park Boys now. And I think this was supposed to be when his character is pretending to be drunk. He's trying to catch them in something. It's some elaborate plan. And he's doing it in front of the whole town, and he's got Julian in front of him. And he's ranting, and he ends the rant with the line, which is, and none of you don't have to listen to Pills Bandy, Doughboy, or Team Sexy. And then he collapses over because Pills Bandy, Doughboy is Randy, and Team Sexy is Julian, because he's always using the word sexy whenever Julian is around, because he's so attracted to Julian. I love that, like they had these great character thing, like just the fact that Julian always has a glass of some dark liquid, always.
Yep.
And it just no matter what, he's got it. You never really have to have an explanation behind it. Sometimes it becomes a plot point, but rarely.
He also, have you ever noticed how he holds it, where he holds like one finger over the top of the glass so that when he brings it to his mouth, his like knuckle is always touching his nose when he's drinking?
He's in control of it, right? He has to be aware of what it has. The other part of the show that, before, we don't need to keep talking about Trailer Park Boys, but now we're on it.
We're on the roll.
Now we're on the roll. I think just the last thing would just be, I mean, Ricky is such a phenomenal character in general, and the guy who played him, Rob Wells, it like wears that character like a second skin, and so you have to think that there's a lot of him in there. And he's the one who has some of the best moments in the show where you can tell something goes wrong, but he recovers the scene in some meaningful way. And he's the one who's always wearing houndstooth. And that was how I realized I need to know what that pattern is, because I see it all the time. So now whenever I see houndstooth in the wild, I like him. Inflect. I go, oh, houndstooth. I'll even say it out loud sometimes. I just need to scratch that itch.
The one of the endearing pieces that you go back, because the language is very crass,
right?
But it's Shakespearean in the way that they give it, and the way that they don't like call out things like, there's a part where Ricky's going on. He's like, Julian, a toe to so. I never would do this, but a toe to so, and he's like, I told you so. Is what he's trying to say. But Lahey always has these analogies to shit. Like, shit doesn't go backwards down a shit stream. The shit birds are coming home to roost.
Yeah.
And
shit storm's coming.
Right? And he's like, I don't know what's going on, fellas. Please running around talking about shit birds and birds with shit on them. It is just really a fascinating television show. And I think the thing that probably is that people like about it is they are people that you've met before in your life, right? Like the guy who works at the convenience store, like you've met him before. The guy who always has a scheme, you've met him before, right? There's always some kind of a scheme going on. Do you think that there is a world where the next generation of people who come forward are able to find something like Trailer Park Boys without it being fed to them in an algorithm form? Here's my question. When I was a youngster, I would walk up and down the aisles of Take-Two Video, and that's where I found some of my favorite movies, like The Road to Wellville, and I found it based off of cover art, other things that kind of I see other people looking at movies and be like, oh, well, why are they checking that one out? And then there was this era where you had TV on DVD, and so you had people who kind of shared it, right? Like if you bought season 1 of Lost and you loved it, you gave it to someone else and they were able to watch it like that and consume it like that. But you get onto something like Netflix, and the algorithm is picking things that they think you're going to like, and you're not going in and rating every single thing that you watch. And I think this is interesting. People hardly ever rate between best and worst, right? Like if it's 5 stars, you're not giving a lot of 3 stars. You're either giving 1 stars or 5 stars. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it thinks it knows what you're going to want. Trailer Park Boys should not have been something that was on my radar, but it was there because another person was like, hey, you got to take these DVDs with you home and watch the show. I wonder what the next generation, if they'll be able to find shows organically, if they're not being pushed to them on TikTok or Instagram with little clips. Like, this is an example. My sister was like, you've got to see this news story that I saw a clip of. And it was a clip from the Onion News Network of the Onion, the daily, their like morning show where it's the missing girl and the 2 girls are all catty. And she's like, and it was like a 20-second clip of it, right? And I'm like, Chrissy, this is from the Onion. And she goes, what? And so I make her watch it, and she's laughing so hard that she's crying. But she's like, I thought that was a real news clip. And I said, I know. And she goes, when did, like, you know, this is so good. And I'm like, it's also 15 years old. She goes, what? And so I wonder how people are going to find stuff going forward, if there's going to be this new world where, or maybe you've got to start enjoying podcasts where people recommend stuff outside the norm to you. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Is that our next step, Tucker?
I think that's the next step.
Okay. Listen, as we take this next step, I'm going to tell everyone, when you use a public restroom, don't make conversation.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information.
My bus driver's name was John Johnson.